Now I'm joined by Congresswoman Karen Bass, a Democrat from California. And Congresswoman, you know, GOP Congressman Kevin Brady said it felt as if they were reenacting the Alamo as they were leading up to today. If you can, describe the battle for us. How messy was it from what you were hearing from your Republican counterparts?
Well, I think that it was very messy, and I think what's so unfortunate is that Speaker Boehner's caucus really doesn't give him the power or the credit that he should have as Speaker. So, you know, they should have accepted the negotiation that he agreed to with the Senate. We really shouldn't have drawn this out as long as we did. They knew in the very beginning that there was no place else for them to go other than to approve the 2-month extension. But I do have to tell you that they acted through this whole time as though all they wanted to do was extend it for 1 year, and that was a clean bill. But I know you know that that 1-year extension is filled with poison pills.
There's a lot of questions about the revenue side. How is it going to be paid for? And there was certainly disagreement on that here, Congresswoman. Let's talk about a fellow Californian of yours, House Majority Whip Kevin McCarthy, whom you know well. He had this to say about today's deal. I want to share this with you. Quote, "While I'm gratified that the current legislative impasse has ended, I urge President Obama and Senate Democrats to put aside election year politics and join House Republicans to provide American families with a long-term tax relief and to create new American jobs." Now, we're going to see a lot of spin after what has happened today, but we've not even finished 2011, and it appears that it is a bit negative. Looking into 2012, what needs to be done?
Well, let me just tell you that in that 1-year bill that the House passed a few weeks ago calls for essentially completely reshaping unemployment. So they want to reduce it from 99 weeks down to 59 weeks. They also want to require unemployment recipients to have to get their GED, as though the people who are unemployed in this recession are uneducated. And it also it also calls for states to, if they want to, require people on unemployment to have a drug test. It's very mean-spirited. It fundamentally changes unemployment, and so it wasn't just a simple extension.
Would you support any of those?
I most certainly would not support reducing the number of weeks, and absolutely the GED and drug test provisions I think is absolutely insulting. You know, several other things that they want to do, they want to pay for it by freezing the pay of federal employees. And so here we are coming out of the worst recession since the Great Depression, and what we're going to do is freeze the paychecks of federal workers. You know, they need to contribute to job creation, and I have to tell you that we've gone through this entire year with this Republican Congress being in charge and no jobs created.
Talking about that, so we've got a 2-month extension. It's going to be revisited in the new year. Do you expect any of those issues or all of those issues that you've just listed to be the key points when you're discussing again the 1-year deal?
Well, I most certainly hope they're not the key points. I mean, the conference committee that is appointed includes the Senate on both sides of the aisle. Now, you do know that when that bill passed the House, the Senate refused to even bring it up, and even Senate Republicans said they didn't support those provisions. So if the House Republicans are going to put them back on the table, I think it's going to be very problematic, and I hope that they won't be so strident. I do have to say, for my new colleagues, and you know that I'm a freshman as well, the colleagues that came from, that were backed by the Tea Party, I hope through this experience that they learned that there is a difference between protesting and governing, and you can't have the same kind of strategy.
If I may, let me launch off of that. As a freshman, as you look at re-election in 2012, you're very aware of the all-time low approval rating of 11% according to Gallup of Congress. You've got to be speaking with your voters, those in your areas, those your constituents, and you have just had a town hall, in fact, this week. Were they angry? Were they looking forward to 2012 and saying you need to do something different?
My constituents absolutely are angry, but, you know, I'm happy to say they're not angry with me. They're angry at the whole process, and they're very concerned with the fact that so many representatives or members that were backed by the Tea Party have been so strident this year. And they also don't understand the mean-spiritedness with which people have approached governing. So talking about cutting unemployment down to 50-some weeks when many people have not recovered from the recession is just mean.
Congresswoman,
and so people asked me, why was that the case?
What is the one thing you will do different when you do return to Washington, D.C. in 2012?
Well, you know, in spite of me talking about the partisanship, I have to tell you that I have a very good working relationship with my Republican colleagues. And so the very first thing I'm going to do is to reach out to them and say, let's sit down in an informal way. Let's talk about some of these provisions. And what do you really think is needed? Drug testing people on unemployment insurance? I want to understand where that is coming from, because I think they have a complete misperception of people who have lost their jobs due to this recession. So maybe that's where we can strike common ground. You
and I have a date, Congresswoman. We will talk about that meeting, what your discussion has, how it goes what does happen in that discussion in 2012, and what sort of progress comes from that. Thank you again so much.
Absolutely.